1350 Millworks, and we're going to talk about sim training today. So what I got was the UTM Ultimate Training Munitions Kit through UTM NRA, and this is what the kit comes with. I got the starter kit. It comes with a 10 round PMag I'm not going to use, 30 rounds of ammunition, a little cleaning attachment, and the blue bolt from UTM, as well as the owner's manual. Installation is really straightforward. Make sure we're safe and clear. Crack this bad boy open, pull the bolt out, install the blue bolt. Now we're ready to rock and roll with our UTM. And these are marking rounds, target rounds, not the force on force munitions. So I will not be using these for force on force. So that's it. That's how easy it is to get this thing up and ready to rock and roll. I will say this, I highly suggest running a bore snake through this thing a few times before you start running UTM through it. I had 6 or 7 of these were failures because the barrel was dirty. The rest were failure to feed. So I'll have to figure that one out. And I've fired roughly 200 rounds so far. And we'll get a little more into it as I go through it. So these are the 2 magazines that I ran primarily through this. I also ran a Lancer Systems mag to see if the magazines were causing the failure to feed issue. So these are Duramags, 30 rounders, and I've just marked them with some blue painter's tape so I know that these are my designated SIMUNITION rounds. I'd say their claimed failure rate is 1%, so 99% effective and fire rate, however they phrased it. I'd say mine is between 90 and 95%. So I want to say there's 16 rounds in here. I've fired 200, so that's roughly 8%. My failures were failure to feeds and failure to fire. So primer strike, and then the round didn't make it all the way down the barrel. I did clean the barrel thoroughly. That seemed to alleviate the problem for a while. And then I had a couple more get stuck in the barrel. The marking aspect of these is not great. It does not leave a good distinguishable paint mark pretty much on anything. I shot it on some stall mat targets, which is a thick rubber mat. It did not mark that at all. I couldn't even tell where my hits were. So then I just started shooting freshly painted steel. It did not mark the steel. So I eventually just started shooting cardboard IDPA, USPSA targets to see where my rounds were. They are very accurate all the way out to 25 yards, like they claim to be. So I have no complaints there. I wish the failure rate wasn't as high as it is, but other than that, I'm halfway through the ammunition that I purchased from them. It's quite pricey. It's depending on who you get it from. If you get it from UTM NRA, I think I paid $1 a round. I ended up getting the starter kit and roughly 500 rounds of ammunition for about $750 shipped. The lead time is, I wouldn't say crazy, but it's long. It's 10 to 12 weeks. They say 60 days, so that shakes out to be about right. I think it took 11 weeks to get my kit. Their customer service is pretty good. Their communication is good. And overall, other than it doesn't mark for shit, and my failure rate being about 8%, which is 8 rounds for every 100. That's kind of a lot. That's almost $20 worth of rounds, so almost roughly a box of ammunition that didn't feed or didn't fire. So half didn't feed, half didn't fire at all. I was able to refeed most of those rounds and at least get them to fire. So if we want to be kind about that failure rate. It's somewhere in the 5% instead of 8. So that's not great. The fact that they don't mark isn't great, but they are very accurate for what they are. They're not quite dialed in. Like this is 0 for 77 grain. Obviously, I think that's like a 6 grain equivalent. But within 25 yards, it does group nicely, and I can account for where my hits are going to be. I use this under white light. I used it using my Viz laser on my Steiner and my EOTech. I missed a few headshots on my half-size silhouette targets at distance, but I think that was a compensation error on my part, not thinking about where the rounds actually land as compared to how this rifle is zeroed. But center mass shots, I could still have a nice tight group just offset of my zero. All in all, I'd say 8.5, 9 out of 10. This is a great training tool. It's a lot cheaper to do this than buy a nice airsoft equivalent of this wrist 2 pin 14.5 and get another EOTech, get another laser, get another light, or go back and forth swapping equipment off of what is my primary rifle over to an airsoft so that I have a trainer. So I think this is a great investment. Ammo takes about 10 weeks on a lead time. I got the Blue Bolt from them and the ammunition all at the same time. And like I said, it took about 10 to 12 weeks. So overall, I think this is a great tool. I wish it marked a little bit better. I wish I didn't quite have the failure rate that I have. But overall, I'm extremely happy with it. And I will be purchasing more ammunition and using it for my training. And you will see some of the drills or training that I was doing. And most of that is just familiarization, working around vehicles, cutting corners, shooting at distance, using my Viz laser around my property and my white light. Guys, I appreciate it. If you have any questions about my experience with the UTM training munitions, my rifle setup, why I chose UTM, leave a comment on the YouTube video or DM me on Instagram, 1350millworks. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.